Welcome to episode 28 of Behind the Shield. Today we welcome head men's soccer coach Evan Scheffey. Hello again, everybody. Scott Geis joining you for another episode of Behind the Shield. Today we get to talk to Coach about losing his fall season, what he did during quarantine and the new routine he had to get used to, and what he looks forward to with this upcoming year with not only his team, but what they're going to be able to do during COVID-19. So after this commercial break, head men's soccer coach Evan Scheffey. Welcome back to episode 28 Behind the Shield. Today, Evan Scheffey, our head men's soccer coach, joined us. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Really appreciate the opportunity to be on, Scott.
So first, the first question for everybody. What have you been up to for the last, now it's 4.5, 5 months? What have you been doing to keep busy?
Yeah, it seems like 5 years instead of 5 months. But, yeah, it's been an interesting time for sure for everyone. But at the end of April, we had our daughter Avery, so that kind of changed things for us a little bit. But was a blessing throughout to get to spend time with her and my son Maddox and my wife. And but throughout the time as well, I've really and for me, I have to have structure in my life. So I really tried to segment out each day, especially March, April, May, as we were still really learning a lot and how to try to best navigate it. But just try and segment my day, time with family. Then I would take an hour to spend on recruiting, an hour to touch base and check in with our current players. And I thought something that was really cool was kind of the opportunities for professional development, even though we couldn't be, out in the field learning. But there was tons of different webinars, Zoom meetings, everything with professional coaches, college coaches at every different level. So there was like a 2 or 3 week stretch and just take an hour each day to watch one of those webinars and try and learn. And, usually around lunch, I try to get out for a little run and listen to a podcast just to get out of the house and, try and stay sane for 45 minutes or so. But really just try to break the day up and keep some structure. But, and that's typically that spring into early summer is our busiest time for recruiting and being out on the road. So not really having that, part of that yearly schedule built into it, just that time and trying to find the blessing and silver lining being at home, spending a little bit more time with family when we're typically out on the road. What was really enjoyable, but thankfully the last month or so, there's been some club tournaments and recruiting events that we've been able to get out to and really start to get back on the road and get back to work. So it's given a slice of normalcy but yeah, really just try to stay engaged with the current players, calls, texts, Zoom meetings, a few team meetings as well, but also just tried to really stay on top of our 2021 recruiting class and guys that we had seen and established relationships with. But yeah, it was difficult, at certain points as well, because I think I crave connection and relationships and being around people, and not only the guys on the team, but also the staff here at the college. And I certainly missed that. And so getting back to it now, even in a socially distanced capacity, it's been good to see others and kind of just catch up and reconnect a little bit. So yeah, it was I guess it's still ongoing at this point in time in terms of the quarantine, but yeah, really just tried to make the best of it, and as we're learning new details throughout, just enjoy spending time with the family, but at the same point in time, staying on top of our guys and current players and recruiting as well.
So has Maddox been a good big brother so far?
He has. So it was, yeah, it was really cool to get to spend time with him every single day, and as opposed to coming home from the office and maybe getting an hour or two, really getting some time in the morning just to be around him. And I think he was at first a little caught off guard as to why I was home so much, but yeah, he's really taken on, almost 4 months into it now, the big brother role. So it's been cool to see him learn that new role within our family, and we're very fortunate and blessed that Avery is healthy and doing well. So and Krista, my wife, has been a rock star throughout. So yeah, we're fortunate, healthy and doing well.
You talked about getting into a routine. How long did it take you to kind of find that sweet spot? Personally, I've been a slave to somebody else's schedule for 25 years. So actually not having a schedule was kind of hard for me. And it took me like a month and a half until I found a routine. How long did it take you to kind of settle into that new normal and that discipline that you need to get through each day?
Yeah, I think it was a few weeks for sure, and trying for Chris and I to work together to figure out what worked for her work schedule and mine as well, working from home. And like I said, still trying to find that balance of, even if it's getting out for a little run or walk or just getting outside in some capacity. But, I think 2 to 3 weeks, once we pretty much figured out we were going to be hunkered down for the long haul, and really we just had that conversation. And so, yeah, again, I think it just kind of allowed me to find purpose in each day and set aside time. This is when I'm going to talk to recruits. This is when I'm going to connect with our guys. This is when I'm going to exercise. And so I think, it took a few weeks to really figure that out and what best worked for not only me, but for our family. So, try to figure that out. And then we had Avery, so that threw obviously another wrinkle into it. But yeah, it was, and I think that was important. Like I said, for me, just having structure and kind of discipline and a plan each and every day was, I think, helpful to best navigate it. Obviously, as we were learning new information every single day and every week, and things were changing a little bit. But yeah, I think that was really important, not only for me personally, but also professionally, to have that structure and kind of purpose to move through each day with.
So a couple of weeks ago, you found out what I think at some point in time became kind of the inevitable, that we were not going to have a traditional fall season this year. How did that strike you? I mean, I think you probably had time to know that it was coming, but it's still, when the final announcement's made, what are your thoughts as a head coach, not only for yourself, but for your team and your guys?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I try to be a relentlessly optimistic person, but at the same point in time, I think, really started to see the reality of how everything was unfolding throughout the summer, and knew it was essentially inevitable as it was coming, and trying, in 10 years of college coaching now, and they have us take all these, coaching licenses and courses and everything. There's nothing to prepare you to receive that information and then, turn around and share that with your team. And, that was probably in 10 years of college coaching the most difficult thing I've had to do or, be part of with a team. So, and I think the other tough part was not being in person with them and having to do it virtually. Anytime you have to share something like that, it's challenging within itself, but not being able to be there and be around the guys and, kind of be connected in that sense was even more challenging. But I thought our guys, obviously they were devastated, and I think I was most devastated for our seniors, because I was really excited about how well they've led over the last year and really the work they put in last winter, heading into the spring season, which obviously got cut short right before we started. But even just academically, the way they led once the semester kind of got broken up and everybody went home, they just did an unbelievable job. So I really devastated for that group. And we'll see if any of those guys, come back and use the waiver. But I think it was just, really tough for them. But at the same point in time, when I talked to them, I think they, at the same point in time, understood. Obviously, they weren't happy about the decision, but understood and, why it was justified and validated in terms of the health and safety. But, they only get 4 years of the opportunity to play college sports, and knowing what they put in this first 3 years, especially for the seniors, I think it was challenging. But, we'll see in terms of what we can do this fall and get back to it. But, yeah, we're still trying to work through that as a team and just have those conversations. And, for me, just check in to see how guys are feeling and, if they have any questions about it. And I've tried to do my best in terms of keeping them updated with any details that we learn. As you know, in working in college, it's just very fluid as well. We're getting new information. So, I've really just tried to keep those guys updated with everything that I know, so that they're not really caught off guard. And I keep telling them we're all working through this together. That's the reality of it. So, so we'll see. I think guys are ready to see what we have the opportunity to do this fall and really get back to work together.
As a relentlessly optimistic person, which you clearly are, you look at the fall, it's not going to be gameplay. Is the opportunity to maybe do some more small-sided stuff, to maybe do more individual stuff, in a way a little bit of a blessing, especially for some of those freshmen that are coming in? The ability to kind of hone some skills that normally you wouldn't have during a fall, is that an opportunity that you think could be really beneficial to our guys?
100%. And I try to share that with our guys during the meeting. And I know it was hard for them to kind of comprehend as I'm, sharing with them that the fall season is canceled, but I think there's still some silver lining within this as we didn't have a spring season. So, it's been almost since last November that we really worked as a group on the field, as coaches with them. But we have a very large, since we graduated 10 guys, we have a large group of 14 freshmen coming in. So it's a really big group to add in. It's a group that we are really excited about, but at the same point in time, I think I've always kind of been envious of spring sport coaches typically, where they get to work with those incoming athletes during the fall, in their non-traditional season. So I really do think getting to work, with that group of 14 freshmen, even if it's in smaller groups, really get to know them. They get to know us. They get to know their teammates. They kind of hopefully have a better idea of understanding what we look for in specific positions and the details that we look for in terms of how we want to play, both sides of the ball. So I think it is. Obviously it's really tough not having that 18 game regular season and working towards playoffs and ultimately the NCAA tournament. But, I think this opportunity to kind of reset, welcome these 14 new guys into the team. I know our seniors and upperclassmen are going to continue to lead and work really hard and do a great job. So, I think that's the silver lining we've tried to see it as, especially as a coaching staff, that we're now getting the opportunity to spend more time with those guys individually, small groups, get that freshman group acclimated and hopefully look towards something, in terms of some sort of game schedule in the spring. Obviously a lot to be determined, but yeah, we are definitely seeing that kind of the blessing in disguise and silver lining. Hey, we're excited to work, as a team, but also, it gives us an opportunity to work with that big group of freshmen and help them get acclimated to everything, because obviously it's very different than it would have been, for a typical fall season.
Is it more important now than ever to keep the kids engaged and to communicate with them and keep them in the loop and let them know what's going on, because of the fact that you're not able to have a traditional preseason and to have a traditional, fall campaign?
Yeah, I think so. And as I shared earlier, and I try to tell them, like, I want to be as fair and open and transparent with them as possible. And it may not always be information they want to hear, but, I'm just going to try to keep them, updated on everything as we get told, and for me, it's been a challenge as well. I'm a planner. I like to know what's on the other side of things and what we're moving towards. And, so as that's been a very fluid situation for me, I know it's even more so for those guys. And, they didn't know if they're going to come back to campus and kind of if they're going to have. So I just try to say, hey, here's, every few weeks, this is what we know. This is what we're working towards. And okay, now as our fall game season's canceled, hopefully starting in small groups, and this is what we're going to get back to. So really just, I think it is so, crucially important to stay engaged with them, even if it's in small groups. I think not only physically, but also, from a team chemistry standpoint, from a mentality standpoint, for them kind of having an outlet from the challenges that they're facing the last 5 months and kind of this semester as we started. So I really do think just keeping them engaged, obviously in a safe, capacity, but, selfishly for me, I can't wait to get back and working with them, whether it's strength conditioning, on the field training, And so I think that is important just to kind of reestablish that team culture. And, although we've been apart for 5 months and we've worked really hard to stay connected, albeit virtually, I think just now being around each other and, ultimately, hopefully leading the way and setting the right example for everybody else to follow, as we talk about all the time. But yeah, hopefully that engagement gives those guys a slice of normalcy and some hope as we move forward after, getting to spend the last 5 months at home.
This year was going to be kind of neat in moving to the MAC. A big difference for us in terms of the teams we're playing. We play a lot of MAC schools during the non-conference schedule. Now they're conference. What are some of your thoughts in moving into the MAC? Because eventually we're going to play in the MAC. We're just not quite sure when. What are some of your thoughts about moving to the new league and being able to have really kind of a fresh set of opponents for your conference slate?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I was really excited for the opportunity, just for new challenges, but also I know our guys were really excited about the opportunity, and as you referenced, we played a lot of those teams in out-of-conference games, but, just the new challenge of going in to the MAC and having new in-conference opponents and creating different rivalry games. And, I mean, for us, like, we've played Messiah for as long as I can remember, from even back when I was a player here. So now going from our toughest out-of-conference opponent, well, now it's an in-conference opponent. So I really think, just that shift in mentality and kind of that fresh start, and I think as an athletic department as a whole, it seemed like everybody was and is excited for that new transition and that new challenge. And I think for sure on the men's soccer side of things, the Commonwealth, especially the last 4 to 5 years, has gotten a lot stronger from top to bottom. And now with, although Lycoming's going out, Eastern is coming over. I mean, Eastern pretty much dominated the Freedom side for men's soccer for many, many years. So another new challenge, within that. And then obviously Messiah's kind of for the last 20, 25 years been the standard of men's Division III soccer. And after when we played them last fall and the result after giving up a goal with 15 seconds left and then losing in overtime, I think, the guys were excited about that opportunity to now face them in conference. And so, yeah, I just think as a whole and even travel wise, I think it'll allow for more fans to go to games and like I said, just create a better atmosphere environment for the athletes to play in. But yeah, it's, and for me personally, playing at York, we're in the CAC and, kind of seeing all of our athletic programs, be so competitive in the CAC. It's always kind of bittersweet, but I think ultimately just really excited about the new opportunity and kind of what that holds, for us as a men's soccer program, but for York College and our athletic department as a whole.
So I'm gonna tend to be positive here. When we play in the spring, what do you expect out of your team? You got a lot coming back. You have some really talented kids and this big class of newcomers. What are some of the things you expect to see when we get the opportunity to play on the field?
Yeah, it's. I'm sure my guys are tired of hearing me use the word consistency in our coaching staff, but it's just something that we've preached, across the board between academics, consistency and buying into everything off the field. Weight room, but on the field as well, the performance and consistency. And I think that's just something that we lacked. We had some talent, we had some ability. We just didn't fully put it together the last year or two. But I think this senior group, they've kind of embodied that consistency that we've been looking for. So I think, again, not having that fall season and the way they were leading the past, 6 to 8 months was unbelievable. So I think really hopefully just carrying that into, whatever the spring holds, if it's, if we're allowed to play a conference only schedule, whatever sort of games, I think that group of 8 from goalkeeper all the way forward, they're going to be strong contributors for sure on the field. And whether that's starting, coming off the bench, give us significant minutes. I think that group will really do a good job leading the way for us. And then, like you said, I think especially with 14 freshmen coming in, there's a lot to learn, a lot to be determined. But I thought our rising sophomores did a really good job this past season and into the spring semester with the way they bought in and learned. And they may not have played a ton, in terms of overall minutes, but at the same point in time, I think they did a great job of progressing throughout the fall and into the spring. And then although we have a smaller group of rising juniors, quality within that. So I think really just that consistency piece, whatever that looks like through this fall and whatever we can do together on the field, but I think absolutely led by that senior group, not only, just their ability and quality as players, but also, as leaders, and then kind of bringing that group of 14 freshmen along. And I think there's a number of guys within that class that can come in and push right away, and we'll see, what happens over the next few months and how those guys make the transition. But, I think overall, just as challenging as it can be right now, some excitement. And I told them, when we had the meeting, when I had to inform them that the fall season was canceled, I told them, guys, whatever we're allowed to do this fall, on the field together in the weight room, I was like, we're going to absolutely maximize that time together. And I can't promise anything. I don't know anything at this point in time. But I'm like, we're really going to work and prepare and have the mentality that we're going to have some sort of games in the spring. So we're really going to work and compete and get after it this fall and hopefully working towards some sort of games in the spring. And obviously that's yet to be determined. But I told them that's going to be our mentality and that's going to be our approach. And I think that's important to continue to motivate us and really have purpose, in our day-to-day training and time together.
You talk about being the standard. You guys have it on your shirts. It's something that you preach to the guys a lot. How important in soccer is chemistry, is culture, is rising to be that standard? How important is that to your program?
Yeah, as I've been here 5 years now, heading into my 6th season, it's just, it's this overarching purpose that every day, and we talk about a lot of different facets of life. That's how you act in the classroom. That's how you're taking care of your academics. It's how you act off the field. When you're working within the team dynamic, how you're carrying yourself in the locker room and what that looks like. So, ultimately that standard of we want all the other programs to look towards us kind of as that model and example. And obviously it's a very lofty and ambitious goal, but I always tell the guys, if you're always working towards that and we as a team and program are always working towards that, we're just going to constantly and consistently improve and get better. And, from that standpoint, the outcomes of wins will take care of themselves. But, and I think even more so now than maybe ever. And it's, I sent a message to the guys this morning as, all the students and athletes start to move back on campus. It's like, we really want to be the example for everybody else to look towards. And it's, when we're mandated to do certain things and, follow certain protocols, it's, make sure we're doing the right thing and that everybody else can view us in a positive light and look towards us as the example, and kind of the right way to do things. And is it always perfect? No, and that's where learning comes along. And, but it's kind of always been, for me, it's important for a program to kind of have that overriding and overarching, model and driving force behind what you're trying to get to. So I think that purpose and, again, that's between consistency and the guys here and myself and our coaching staff talk about be the standard and what that means. And, I think there's a lot that goes into that. So we really try and break it down. But, I think more now than ever in terms of how guys handle themselves on campus and doing the right thing. And, even when they come to the Grumbacher, before we're allowed to start practice or do some sort of strength conditioning, it's like, follow the right protocol, be the example for everybody else to follow. And so, a big part of that goes in the recruiting process as well. And we share that with all of our recruits and their families. And, we want to have high standards and expectations for our players. And again, there's opportunities for sure to learn throughout the way in different areas to improve with that. But, I thought, again, our guys this past fall and spring, it was the best 2 semesters we've ever had, academically as a program. And I think in the spring, we ended up being the highest men's athletic team here on campus in terms of our overall GPA and that transition of being on campus and going home. And so, and I told them after, I'm like, this is what we're working towards. And it takes time and it takes a lot of effort and discipline and commitment. But, and hopefully even after their 4 years as part of our program, that's still kind of a philosophy and an overriding, purpose in their life that whether they go to the next job. And it's like, with one of our graduating seniors, Mark Murgo, when I was out recruiting, last week, got to catch up with him and his dad, and, he's off interviewing for a job as an electrical engineer to work on nuclear submarines. So it's, it's like, even when you take that next step and guys are doing some cool things, it's like, okay, well, if you're the employee for that company now, keep working towards being the standard of that company. And, that employee is the way you handle yourself, the way you work each and every day, and how you interact with, with your colleagues that your boss can point to and say, hey, be more like Mark or whoever it may be. So, I think that's just really important. And that's kind of guided us as a program, and it will continue. So a lot of work to be done, but, I think it's always important to kind of, bring that back and keep that, on the forefront for all of our guys and for ourselves as coaches as well.
All right, we're going to take a little bit of a detour because I thought of this as we're talking. There's been a lot of discussion in Division I about a split season with soccer, of going fall and then spring. Do you see this potentially, one, do you see it creeping down to Division III level if it would happen? And two, does a season like this, where you have training in the fall and then play in the spring, hopefully, do you think that could be an impetus for maybe some changing the way the NCAA deals with men's and women's soccer in the season play?
Yeah, it's been a fascinating kind of debate, and watching especially the last 2 to 3 years. And obviously it's been led by a lot of the Division I men's and women's soccer coaches. And I don't know if I see it happening in the next few years. However, that was before this pandemic. So I think it really brings it to light, and it's interesting. And I think obviously every college sport wishes they had more time to practice and train, and from the physical side of things. But yeah, I think, and even if we look towards the spring, and if we have games, and hey, if we can practice and train for 4 to 5 days and have a game, on that 5th day, and it just gives us more time to really fully prepare. Like I said, I think physically, mentally, allow guys to recover. And it's certainly obviously different from football or lacrosse in terms of the physical aspects of the game, how you recover. But, when some guys are running 5 to 6 miles over, the duration of a game, and then trying to turn around and ask them to train at their highest level the next day, it's, there can be their challenges. But I think it's a really interesting discussion that, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I never thought it would actually come close to happening or fruition. But I think it's really gained some traction, especially in the Division I realm. And I think it would, if it does happen with Division I, there may be a trickle down effect down the road. Would I love for it to happen? Yes, because I think it just gives us more time to really prepare each and every week for each and every opponent. But, at the same point in time, whatever we get, we're gonna work hard. We're gonna prepare, and if that transition and that change happens down the road, we'll be thankful and adjust. But it will be interesting. I think I talked to my wife about this the other day, like, to think about where college athletics will be 12 months from now and the changes that will have happened. So obviously more specific to soccer, I'll be interested to see that maybe if there are some games played, in the spring, especially at the Division I level at those conferences, if it will give them even more traction and to go to the NCAA. And I know even some of the conferences, the major conferences have been behind it and supporting it. So yeah, a lot to be determined, but I think this could give them a little extra nudge forward, as they petition the NCAA.
So it's been a couple years since you've worn the old green and white number 4.
Many years.
How much has the game changed? I mean, how much is it? Is it more physical, or are players at our level a little bit more athletic? Is there anything that sticks out to you as a head coach that you see on the field that differs from the time when you played? We won't say how long ago, but
over a decade. It's okay.
So, what do you see that has been different on the field?
Yeah, I think part of it is on the field. Part of it are the things that have happened off the field. I think recruiting now, and even just when I'm out recruiting, and friends with a lot of other coaches, and just to ask them how things have changed, since, they're a little bit older, but ask them how things have changed through the years. And they're like, more often than not, kids aren't falling through the cracks now. So, and I think even just club soccer as a whole, I think there's a lot of improvements that can happen. But I just think the development, of soccer in general in our country over the last decade is vastly improved. And I think there's still a ways to go, but I think just overall the talent pool is better. But I think of other things that kind of can directly, translate to on the field performance. It's like, I remember when I was playing, when we're working out as a team, it's like, here's a packet of workouts to go do in the fitness center, go get done. Well, it's, now kind of how strength conditioning factors into that, and recovery, and working with the athletic trainers to really help try and stay as healthy as possible. And, I remember watching film a few times, but I think now watching film individually, small groups, as a team, preparing for scouts, but also watching, film on ourselves to continuously improve. Like I said, I remember doing that a few times, but now I think it's just ingrained in such, and it's an important part of how to improve as a team and learn and get better. So, I think the recruiting side and overall development of soccer in the United States has helped push that forward. I think kids across the board, as they're exposed to, like I said, additional training and development, everything, kids are just more athletic. That's factored into it. And I think, even in Division III, I think there's a lot more parity in terms of, how many competitive teams there are, obviously specifically to men's soccer, but I think across the board. So, it's been interesting from a playing standpoint. I look back, I'm like, you're just there as a player, you're going through it and trying to enjoy it and, create lasting relationships and win as many games as you can. But now to, from a coaching standpoint, to look at everything that really goes into it, from the recruiting side of things to, film and meetings with certain guys and certain groups on the team. But, ultimately it comes down to, I think, finding the right guys, that you can put on the field and hopefully carry out your vision, as a coach and coaching staff. But yeah, I think, at least from my standpoint, I think that the game has, especially in Division III, improved tremendously in the last 10 years, which makes it more competitive and ultimately challenges us more as coaches and players to find different ways to push on development and get better on the field, off the field. But that's the challenge we enjoy, and so excited to see kind of what the next few years and hopefully next decade look like in terms of improvements and development, within the sport. But yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of craving the connection to get back with my guys, even if albeit be in small groups, and get back to work and see where we go from there.
Last question. What is your favorite part about being the head men's soccer coach at York College?
I think for sure the people, and it's a big reason. When I came back 5 years ago, this may sound cliche, but always a dream to get back to York College and this program to be the head coach. And I think not just because it's where I went to college and it was my alma mater, just because I had such an unbelievable 4-year experience when I was here. Got to play on some incredibly good teams, but I think more so than that, got to make some incredible friends and, relationships and with my teammates that have lasted 10 plus years after I've graduated. And, but I think not even just within the soccer program, and obviously I'm biased towards that since it was such a pivotal part of my experience here, but, even just the entire athletic department as a whole. And, working at a couple different colleges now before I came back to York, it's like just to see, I think, how tight-knit, the staff within our athletic department is, and how close we all are and getting support each other and, having our families kind of intertwined and kids growing up together. It makes me love come to work every day. And so I think, part of it is the pride that I have to be a Spartan, and that experience that I had for 4 years as a men's soccer player and a student athlete here. But now it's even bigger than that. I think just, not only the campus community, but like I said, each and every day getting to come into the office and love my assistant coaches that I get to be around, obviously my players, but, even just to work day in and day out with an awesome staff and the colleagues that we have here in the athletic department. I think that was another big part of what I was missing the last 5 months, is just, kind of that connection and those relationships with everybody in this department as well.
There is no doubt about that. It's been a long 5 months.
For all of us.
Yeah, just being able to stick your head in somebody's office and see how they're doing. I think that was a huge part that was missing. So we want to thank you.
Zucchini bread this morning.
Oh, the zucchini bread is outstanding.
Missed that for a few months.
Yeah. Oh, we got plenty of it where that came from. So that would be zucchini bread for a while. Want to thank you for joining us today, Coach. We're going to actually get to do this again with you in a couple weeks as you are part of our Hall of Fame class. So we're going to have a Behind the Shield Hall of Fame edition. You're going to be part of that. Congratulations on being a part of a pretty illustrious class of this year, 7 individuals, and clearly well earned and super happy for you. And we'll get a Hall of Fame induction at some point in time.
That's right.
But until that point, we're going to do it Behind the Shield. So we'll catch up with you again in a couple weeks. But thanks for joining us again. Look forward to getting you to see, even if it's this fall in small groups, being on the field with your kids and having your kids back in school is super exciting. And we thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time. And this Behind the Shield series has been awesome. So thanks for allowing me to be part of it.
Well, when you got great kids and great coaches, it's pretty easy to do. So thanks a lot, Evan.
Thanks, Scott.
At York College, we are proud of the fact that we have over 30 cultures and 30 countries represented among our campus community. We not only are proud of that fact, we celebrate the unique perspective and differences that each and every person on this campus brings to us. So on behalf of all of us at York College, I want you to know that you are welcomed here.
Tu eres bienvenido aquí. Vous êtes bien reçu ici. You're very welcome here.
You are welcome here.
You are welcome here.
Você está bem-vindo aqui.
You are welcome here.
You are welcome here.
You are welcome here.
You're welcome here.
معكم رقية آل الشيخ من كلية يورك في بنسلفانيا. أنتم مرحب بكم هنا. We are welcome.
From day one at York College of Pennsylvania, you are welcome here.
We want to thank new Hall of Famer and head men's soccer coach Evan Scheffey for joining us today. You can certainly hear the excitement in his voice when he talks about being able to have his guys back on campus and being able to do some form of team activities here in the fall without the traditional season, but looking forward to having them back and being able to do something with them. He certainly loves his team and is looking forward to anything that comes forward during the 2020-2021 season. We'll return later this week with men's soccer captain Ethan Lloyd. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Spartans.